Greek mythology, a tapestry of tales that has been woven into the very fabric of Western civilization, offers an enchanting look into a world where gods and heroes intertwine. Amongst its most revered heroes stands Perseus, a figure whose story encapsulates bravery, cunning, and the complexities of fate. Perseus's tale begins even before his birth, rooted in the rich soil of divine intrigue and mortal folly. His grandfather, King Acrisius of Argos, desperate to have a son and heir, sought the oracle of Delphi. The oracle, however, delivered a chilling prophecy. Acrisius would one day be killed by his daughter's son. Troubled by this prophecy, Acrisius confined his daughter Danae in a bronze chamber, hoping to keep her away from all men and thus from bearing a child. However, the will of the gods is not so easily thwarted. Zeus, the king of gods, enamored by Danae's beauty, visited her in the form of golden rain, penetrating the chamber. From this divine union, Perseus was born, a child of both mortal and godly lineage. Acrisius, upon discovering the child, could not bring himself to kill the newborn. Instead, he locked Danae and Perseus in a chest and cast them into the sea, entrusting their fate to the whims of the waves. Miraculously, mother and son survived. The chest found its way to the island of Seriphos, where a kind fisherman named Dictys discovered and took them in. Dictys, brother to the island's king, Polydectes, raised Perseus in a humble environment, far removed from the luxuries of a royal life. Yet, the hero's lineage could not be hidden, as signs of his divine heritage began to show in his strength, intelligence, and courage as he grew. As Perseus grew under the care of Dictys on the island of Seriphos, the shadow of the prophecy lingered, an unseen force shaping his destiny. King Acrisius's fear, having driven him to such extreme measures against his own daughter and grandson, did not wane with the passing of time. Meanwhile, Perseus, unaware of his royal blood and the ominous prophecy, lived a life far from the palaces and intrigue of Argos. In Seriphos, Perseus exhibited qualities of both his mortal and divine heritage. He was strong, swift, and brave, yet also kind and just. His mother, Danae, remained ever protective, aware of the dangers their past could bring to their present. Their life was simple but peaceful, a stark contrast to the life they might have led in Argos. King Polydectes of Seriphos, Dictys' brother, was a ruler with a less noble heart. He developed an unwanted affection for Danae, but her protective son stood in his way. Seeking to remove Perseus from the picture, Polydectes devised a cunning plan. He announced he would marry another woman and required all suitors to bring a gift. Perseus, with nothing to give, rashly promised to fetch anything the king desired. Seizing the opportunity, Polydectes demanded the head of Medusa, one of the 3 Gorgon sisters, whose gaze could turn a man to stone. The quest seemed impossible. Medusa was a formidable foe, known across lands and seas for her deadly power. Yet, the words of a promise given in haste bound Perseus. He accepted the challenge, driven by the need to protect his mother and the honor of his word. This acceptance marked the true beginning of his journey into legend. Perseus's quest to slay Medusa was more than a mere adventure. It was a rite of passage, a journey that would test his mettle and define his place in the annals of Greek mythology. Unbeknownst to him, his actions would also set the stage for the fulfillment of the prophecy that had loomed over his life since birth. Perseus's journey from a young man to a legendary hero truly began with the daunting task set before him, to fetch the head of Medusa. This quest, placed upon him by King Polydectes, was no mere errand. It was a perilous venture into the unknown, a test of courage and cunning against a foe whose very gaze could bring eternal petrification. Medusa, once a beautiful maiden, had been cursed by the goddess Athena. Her hair was turned into writhing serpents, and her gaze transformed into a weapon so fearsome that all who looked upon her turned to stone. She resided far away, at the ends of the earth, in a land where no ordinary man dared to venture. Her sisters, the immortal Gorgons, guarded her, making the task even more formidable. Understanding the impossibility of his quest, Perseus was initially filled with despair. How could he, a mere mortal, hope to succeed against such a monstrous being? His fate, it seemed, was sealed. However, it was this seemingly impossible challenge that caught the attention of the gods. Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war, saw in Perseus a kindred spirit, a mortal who could achieve great deeds. She, along with Hermes, the messenger god known for his cunning and speed, decided to aid Perseus in his quest. Their intervention was not just a testament to their fondness for the hero, but also a part of the intricate web of destiny that wove through the lives of gods and mortals alike. Athena provided Perseus with crucial advice: to seek the Hesperides, nymphs who possessed items essential for his quest. Hermes, meanwhile, bestowed upon Perseus a pair of winged sandals, granting him the ability to fly, a feature that would prove invaluable in his journey. Additionally, he received a helmet from Hades, the god of the underworld, which could render him invisible, and a special pouch to safely contain Medusa's head. Perhaps the most significant gift came from Athena herself, a polished bronze shield. She instructed Perseus not to look directly at Medusa, but to use the shield as a mirror to avoid her deadly gaze. This blend of divine gifts and wise counsel equipped Perseus not just with physical tools, but with the knowledge and strategy needed to face a seemingly invincible enemy. With the gods' blessings, Perseus set off on his journey. His heart was filled with a mix of fear and determination, aware of the dangers that lay ahead, but driven by the need to protect his mother and uphold his promise. The quest to slay Medusa was more than a mission. It was a journey that would define Perseus as one of the greatest heroes in Greek mythology. The journey of Perseus to slay Medusa was not just a testament to his bravery, but also a reflection of the intricate relationship between gods and mortals in Greek mythology. As Perseus embarked on his perilous quest, the divine assistance he received played a pivotal role, highlighting the gods' influence in shaping the destinies of men. Athena and Hermes, seeing in Perseus the potential for greatness, had already provided him with gifts of immense value. However, their assistance extended beyond mere tools. It was also in the form of wisdom and guidance. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, was not only a patron of heroes, but also a strategist. She knew that Perseus's success relied not just on bravery, but on cunning and intellect. The first challenge Perseus faced was locating the Gorgons' lair, a task that seemed impossible as it was hidden so well that no mortal knew of its whereabouts. To find it, Perseus needed to consult the Graiai, sisters to the Gorgons, who shared one eye and one tooth between them. By cleverly confiscating their eye and tooth, Perseus compelled them to reveal the location of the nymphs of the Hesperides, who possessed further knowledge and tools essential for his quest. Upon reaching the Hesperides, Perseus was bestowed with several magical items. The most notable among these were the winged sandals from Hermes, granting him the ability to fly, the helmet of Hades, offering invisibility, and a special adamantine sword forged by Hephaestus, the god of blacksmiths. Each of these items was not only a symbol of the god's favor, but also crucial in overcoming the challenges he would face. The winged sandals enabled Perseus to travel great distances swiftly and to maneuver in battle with agility unmatched by any mortal. The helmet of invisibility was perhaps the most vital, as it allowed him to approach Medusa without being seen, a key element in his strategy to avoid her petrifying gaze. Athena's gift of the polished shield was ingenious. By using it as a mirror, Perseus could look at Medusa's reflection without direct eye contact, thus avoiding the fate of those who gazed upon her face. This strategy embodied Athena's blend of wisdom and warfare, turning a defensive item into a tool of strategy. The gods' assistance, however, was not just a matter of gifting powerful artifacts. It was also a way of guiding Perseus towards his destiny, of shaping a hero who could stand as a symbol of courage, resilience, and divine favor. This guidance was a reminder that in Greek mythology, the deeds of mortals were often intertwined with the whims and designs of the gods. The encounter with the Gorgons, particularly Medusa, stands as the most harrowing and iconic moment in Perseus's myth. This part of his journey was not only a test of his courage and strength, but also of his ingenuity and the effective use of the divine gifts he had been bestowed. Perseus, armed with the tools and advice from the gods, finally arrived at the lair of the Gorgons. The place was as foreboding as the legends had described, a desolate, eerie landscape shrouded in a thick mist that seemed to muffle all sound. The air was heavy, filled with an ominous sense of dread. Here, Medusa lived with her sisters, Stheno and Euryale, creatures equally fearsome, yet unlike Medusa, they were immortal. Stealth was paramount. Perseus, thanks to the helmet of Hades, approached unseen. He was acutely aware that one wrong move, one direct glance at Medusa, would be his end. He navigated the treacherous terrain, guided by the reflection in his polished shield, a strategy devised by Athena. The shield, acting as a mirror, allowed him to see where he was going without directly looking at his foes. Finally, he saw her. Medusa, a once beautiful woman now cursed with a visage so horrific, serpents writhing where her hair should be, her gaze lethal. Around her, the stone figures of men and beasts stood as testament to her deadly power. These were once living beings, now forever captured in stone, a chilling reminder of the fate that awaited Perseus should he fail. Utilizing Hermes' winged sandals, Perseus hovered out of reach of the Gorgons. He moved with silent precision, his eyes fixed on the shield's reflection. When he was directly above Medusa, who lay asleep, he steadied himself. In a swift, decisive motion, guided by the reflection in his shield, Perseus descended and used the adamantine sword to sever Medusa's head from her body. The deed was done in an instant, yet it was an eternity in that moment. The other Gorgons, awakened by the act, pursued Perseus. But invisible and swift, he evaded them, flying away with Medusa's head safely contained in the magical pouch. Perseus's victory was monumental. He had achieved the unthinkable, slaying a creature whose very existence was a death sentence to any who beheld her. This feat, however, was not just a display of heroism. It was a blend of divine assistance, strategy, and bravery. The gods had provided the means, but it was Perseus's courage and intelligence that turned those means into victory. Having triumphed over Medusa, Perseus's journey was far from over. His return to Seriphos was marked by a series of adventures that further established him as a hero of Greek mythology. Each encounter and challenge he faced on his way back enriched his legend and showcased the virtues of bravery, justice, and compassion that defined him. One of the most notable incidents in Perseus's return journey was his encounter with Andromeda. As Perseus passed over the kingdom of Ethiopia, he came across a beautiful maiden chained to a rock by the sea. This was Andromeda, daughter of King Seriphos and Queen Cassiopeia. Cassiopeia had boasted that her daughter was more beautiful than the Nereids, sea nymphs. Angered by this claim, Poseidon, god of the sea, sent a sea monster to ravage the coast of Ethiopia as punishment. The oracle of Delphi had told Seriphos that the only way to appease Poseidon and save his kingdom was to sacrifice his daughter to the sea monster. Bound by duty and desperation, Seriphos had reluctantly complied. Perseus, upon seeing Andromeda's plight, was moved by both her beauty and her unjust fate. he approached Seriphos and offered a deal. He would save Andromeda from the sea monster if he could marry her. The king, seeing no other option to save his kingdom and his daughter, agreed. Using the head of Medusa, Perseus confronted the sea monster. With a swift motion, he exposed the creature to Medusa's petrifying gaze, turning it into stone and saving Andromeda. The rescue of Andromeda was not just an act of heroism, it was also a romantic episode in Perseus's story, showcasing his capacity for love and compassion amidst his heroic deeds. However, Perseus's journey home was not without further challenges. He encountered various other obstacles, including hostile kingdoms and treacherous landscapes. In each situation, Perseus used a combination of his divine gifts, wit, and strength to overcome these trials. These encounters underscored his status as a favored mortal of the gods, capable of facing and overcoming great adversities. Upon his return to Seriphos, Perseus found that his mother, Danae, was in danger from King Polydectes, who had grown more insistent and threatening in his advances during Perseus's absence. Fueled by a righteous anger, Perseus stormed into Polydectes' court. In a dramatic confrontation, he revealed the head of Medusa, turning Polydectes and his followers to stone, thus liberating his mother and the island from the tyrant's rule. This series of adventures post-Medusa's defeat not only added to Perseus's fame, but also shaped the moral framework of his story. Each act, whether driven by duty, love, or justice, painted a picture of a multifaceted hero capable of compassion and righteous wrath. Perseus's return to Seriphos marked the beginning of the end of his epic journey. Having liberated Andromeda and dealt with King Polydectes, he turned his attention towards his birthplace, Argos, and his grandfather, King Acrisius. The prophecy that Acrisius would be killed by his daughter's son, which had set in motion the series of events leading to Perseus's birth and subsequent adventures, still hung in the air, a thread of fate yet to be resolved. Upon arriving in Argos, Perseus learned that Acrisius, haunted by the prophecy and fearful of its fulfillment, had fled the city. The king had become a wanderer, seeking to escape his foretold doom. Perseus, with no intention of harming his grandfather, ascended to the throne of Argos, a rightful place for the hero who had achieved so much. His rule was marked by justice and wisdom, traits he had demonstrated throughout his journey. However, fate, as often is the case in Greek mythology, cannot be easily eluded. The fulfillment of the prophecy came not through an act of vengeance or hatred, but as an unfortunate accident. During an athletic competition which Perseus participated in, he threw a discus with such strength that it veered off course. The discus struck an elderly spectator, who was none other than King Acrisius, in disguise and unrecognizable to Perseus. Acrisius was killed instantly, thus fulfilling the prophecy in a way none could have predicted. The accidental death of Acrisius was a moment of great sorrow for Perseus. He had never harbored ill will towards his grandfather, despite the latter's actions that had caused him and his mother so much suffering. The tragic fulfillment of the prophecy highlighted the inescapable nature of fate in Greek mythology, a theme prevalent in many of its stories. Haunted by the death of Acrisius and unwilling to rule Argos, the place where the prophecy had come to its grim conclusion, Perseus exchanged kingdoms with Megapenthes, the son of Proetus, and became the king of Tiryns. This exchange marked a new chapter in Perseus's life, one where he could rule without the shadow of the prophecy looming over him. Perseus's reign in Tiryns was marked by prosperity and peace. He founded the city of Mycenae, which would later become one of the greatest cities in Greek mythology, known for its mighty kings and tragic heroes. His rule exemplified the qualities that had defined him as a hero: strength, wisdom, and a sense of justice. In the twilight years of his life, Perseus's role as a hero transitioned into that of a wise and just ruler, his exploits becoming the stuff of legend. His journey from a youth marked by prophecy to a revered hero and king left an indelible mark on Greek mythology and the cultural consciousness of Greece. Perseus's reign in Tiryns and Mycenae was a golden age, marked by stability and prosperity. He was known as a fair ruler, one who applied the wisdom and experience gained from his adventures. His governance was not just a continuation of his heroism, but an extension of the virtues he had consistently demonstrated: bravery, wisdom, justice, and compassion. Among Perseus's notable achievements as a king was the founding of Mycenae. The city, according to myth, was named after the pommel of his sword, which fell to the earth and where he found a spring of water. Mycenae would grow to become a major center of Greek civilization, its influence echoing through the ages, and would later be linked to legendary figures like King Agamemnon. The legacy of Perseus also extended to his descendants. He and Andromeda had several children, including Perses, from whom the Persians claimed descent, and Alcaeus, the great-grandfather of the most famous Greek hero, Heracles. Thus, Perseus's bloodline continued to shape the mythological landscape of Greece, intertwining with other legends and heroes. As with many heroes in Greek mythology, the end of Perseus's mortal life was not the end of his story. Upon his death, he was granted immortality by Zeus and placed among the stars as a constellation. This celestial honor was a testament to his heroic deeds and his status as a favored demigod, son of Zeus. The constellation of Perseus, holding the head of Medusa, remains a reminder of his heroic journey and his triumph over seemingly insurmountable challenges. Perseus's story, with its themes of destiny, courage, and redemption, has resonated through the ages. It has been retold and reimagined in various forms, from ancient plays and poems to modern films and literature. His tale is not just an account of heroic feats, but also a narrative that explores the complexities of fate and free will, the relationship between mortals and gods, and the enduring qualities that define true heroism.